It's a great day, educators. Grab your favorite coffee, take a deep breath, and prepare to be catered to. Today, we will discuss self-care with our guest, Lakeshia Grant. Lakeshia is a licensed professional counselor. She received a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology at Texas Tech and a Master of Arts in Counseling at Dallas Baptist University. Lakeshia was introduced to the world of mental health crisis stabilization when she worked at Green Oak Psychiatric Hospital in the Adult Psychiatric Emergency Room. Since 2014, Lakeshia has been co-facilitating with Arise, which is a women's support group for survivors of sexual abuse or incest. In August 2016, she began working at Children's Medical Center Dallas on the inpatient psychiatric unit. She is now the inpatient care coordinator. Lakeshia recently opened her own counseling practice, Mindfully Restored Counseling, on August 8, 2018, where she provides counseling to women ages 17 and older. Educators, let's welcome Lakeshia Grant to the show. Hi, Lakeshia. How are you today?
I'm good, Andrea. How are you?
I'm doing well. Listeners, I had the pleasure of connecting with Lakeshia while I was getting my Master's of Arts in Counseling at Dallas Baptist University. We had many nights of so many different challenges while completing that degree. I mean, we connected and it's been we've known each other for about 8 years now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Almost a decade.
Almost a decade. Yeah.
I know, right? When you think about it. Yes. So, Lakeshia, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm trying to see. You went over kind of just the basics. Yes, I'm Lakeshia Grant. I work at Children's Medical Center of Dallas full-time during the day. I just recently started my own counseling practice, Mindfully Restored Counseling. I literally just launched it on August 6th. So about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. This month has already been. In my spare time, I like to try different things. I like to garden. I like to read. I love to travel. I like to listen to podcasts. I like to just have fun. Member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I have a 4-year-old miniature Schnauzer Shih Tzu mix named Roxy.
Oh,
that is me.
Sounds good. Okay, let's get into our topic today of self-care. What is your definition of self-care?
So for me, self-care, I don't think of self-care as the typical, treat yourself type mentality. To me, self-care is doing what's necessary for you to ensure that you're mentally, emotionally, and physically, spiritually, and relationally whole. Like it's a whole 5-part component that I feel. And when I say necessary, it doesn't always mean that it's going to be easy or comforting.
Right.
But it's necessary to ensure that you're whole, that you're well. You don't go to the doctor because it's fun. You don't get your teeth cleaned at the dentist because it's fun.
Right.
Because you're treating yourself. You do it because it's so. That's, to me, that's what it means. It can be difficult and overwhelming at times, but ultimately it's for your overall benefit and betterment.
That's a great perspective about it. I never looked at it like that, and that is something I know in this time, a lot of people, when they do talk about self-care, like you say, it doesn't necessarily have to be nice or fun, and it's definitely not going to be convenient. It's going to take some intentionality. And so,
exactly.
Yeah. And so most people think, I'm doing self-care. Yeah. Shopping and going to get a pedicure, manicure. Yeah. that's all fine and dandy, but like you said, it's more than that. Basically your total being. So that's a great point you brought out. So
Yeah,
how important do you think self-care is for educators?
it's extremely important for educators. You can't for in order to teach it to someone or be able to relate it to someone, you have to know how to understand it. And
Right.
not that everything that you teach, you have to have experienced yourself. Like, even as a therapist, not everything that I help people with on an emotional level have I experienced myself. But to a certain degree, you have to at least understand the basics of what self-care is. And not only that, you're as an educator, you're doing more than just teaching when you have students and participants. You're engaging with them on deeper levels, conversational levels. You're taking on that energy of them, good days, bad days, indifferent, So you have to be able to separate yourself from those emotions and those energies and those, different circumstances, whatever happens, on top of your own personal lives and things that happen. You have to be able to take care of yourself to be the best person that you can be for your participants.
Right, right. And with the teacher turnover rate and rising burnout among educators, what are some benefits that self-care can provide to them so that they can, lower their risk of burnout and manage stress?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, burnout is something serious, with each new year, because there's always something different happening. There's always, we've all seen the news, how difficult it is for teachers and let alone students, people saying it's the teacher's responsibility or the educator's responsibility to take care of these kids, 9 to 5. And they're only given so many different tools to do that. But even at that, you want these teachers and educators to be present in these kids' lives, give them homework, but not too much homework, yet teach them to meet these academic standards according to the state. You want them to be able to, manage their emotional and mental well-being as well in the classroom. For a class of 20 plus kids,
Right.
each of them are going through their own developmental stage spurts and growths throughout the year, and the teachers can't get any time off to take care of themselves. Like, yes, educators and teachers get holidays according to the school breaks, summer breaks and spring breaks and Christmas holidays and stuff off, but are they not allowed to have a bad day? Like, these educators have their own issues as well too, like their own personal lives, their own families that sometimes they're putting on the back burner for the sake of their students. So you're enforcing these educators to literally drag themselves into the ground for the sake of their students, but still each day you're expecting them to perform at the highest ability. And that's just unrealistic.
Right. So some benefits for them doing self-care is basically, like you said earlier, hitting the 5 points, taking care of themselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and relationally, because definitely relationally, because that would help them with the relationship they have between their students.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how do you practice self-care and how often?
I try to practice self-care in all honesty and transparency. I try to practice self-care to a different type of self-care at least 3 or 4 times a week. Being as that I work at a psychiatric hospital or inpatient setting of a psychiatric hospital, it gets busy, it gets overwhelming. So for me, I have to practice self-care more often throughout the week. Now, it's not even anything like extreme, but I'll zone I say zone out. I'll zone out and I'll listen. I have a vinyl collection. I'll listen to my vinyl records. If it's an emotionally challenging day, music helps me relax. So I have a set of jazz records that I'll listen to that specifically for that, to help me with that. Or I will, go and work out. It just all depends on what I need at that moment, because it happens for me. My self-care is in stages. Of course, I will let myself cry. I consider that my emotional release or my emotional parts of self-care is my deep work, my deep self-work, where I'm really like reflecting and becoming really internal and insightful about what's going on, why I'm experiencing or reacting to certain emotions in a way. Or I will journal, even if it's just kind of just writing down whatever comes to mind with not even like direction or anything. I have a journal that I keep in my purse for that very reason, even when I'm at work. Like if I'm getting overwhelmed at work, I'll go sit by the window and just write out whatever's in my mind, so I won't keep those emotions bottled in. And sometimes, a lot of times when I do that, I start to cry. Those tears will form, those emotions will come up, and not even necessarily from what even's going on at the moment, but whatever else is under there.
Right.
Like I have to let that out. And that can be difficult at times, but it's releasing to me. Like I used to be one of those people, my parents, my mom will say, I cry at the drop of a hat. And because I would keep so many emotions inside, and I can feel people's emotions so easily, that when it becomes so much, they would just pour out. So I have to allow myself time to cry, even if it's around others. If it's not around others, I have to do that even now. I'm gotten better with that. So I don't cry at the drop of a hat because I allow myself time to cry.
Right.
And of course I have my discussions with God. Call it prayer, call it reflection, call it meditation. I call them discussions because sometimes me and God, we do have it out.
Of course.
we have a little talk because, and I say discussion because I'm not always requesting something from God. Like sometimes I'm just venting.
Right.
I vent to him. I'll talk to one of my best friends, and I'll pull it together and be like, okay, I'm not, at the end of it, I'm always like, okay, God, I'm not saying I'm giving up, but I just want you to know I'm frustrated. Like, cool. And then he'll send me whatever sign or whatever I need in that moment to know that he heard me, and that I know that he's heard me, and that I know at the end of it all, he has me through that.
I like the point where you brought up about crying, because that's something that most of my friends know is like, Andrea is going to tell you to cry, because sometimes you just need that release. You need that release, and we can hold things in us so long, like you say, that, okay, at any given moment you're crying, or you make yourself sick. That causes different things to take place inside your body because you're holding these emotions in. And just as far as sometimes just simple things such as, like you saying, crying or writing things out or taking time to understand why you feel a certain way will help us through so much and help us to manage the stress. Because if not, then we burn out, we overload, we wreck ourselves.
Right. And you're no good to nobody burnt out. Like, you can't, there's nothing left in you to use. And to try to come back from burnout or restore yourself from burnout, like, it's not impossible, but that is hard work.
It is. Yeah, I found myself burnt out a couple of years ago. I want to say it was while I was at DBU. And I promised myself that I would never get to that place again. And so I intentionally place self-care on my schedule. I place myself, on the schedule because I didn't want that to take place again in my life. And with me being in a place of purpose where I'm helping others, how can I help someone else if I'm not right? Exactly. It's not going to be effective and of quality. So yeah, self-care is definitely important when we're in a field of help, and educators do provide help to others. So what advice would you give to educators listening to this show about self-care, how to add it to their schedule? Because there are often some that I encounter that I don't have the time to do that, or I'm just too busy. So what advice would you give to them?
Self-care should be intentional and purposeful, above anything. self-care is going to be the most selfish thing you can do, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. Times with your friends, going to brunch, going to the movies, that's fine. Having a spa day, that sounds really nice, and having a fancy meal, that's comforting, yes, but that's more self-indulgence.
Right.
I self-care is very much selfish. You're taking care of yourself. You're taking the time to be intentional about healing yourself. You're taking the time to be purposeful about restoring yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. Any form of self-care, whether it's light maintenance work, deep self-work, true self-care, sometimes true self-care is always necessary for the betterment of your overall being. Understanding and being able to practice it this way as an educator will make it more relatable to your students and to your clients to grasp it as well. If you can teach them that, or even give your clients that, your students that bit of advice, but you can't take it for yourself, like it makes you a hypocrite, which there's nothing wrong with that if you're okay with that too. Like, you have to answer to yourself
right.
today. Like, I have nothing to do with that, but it shouldn't ever be shied away from. There's nothing wrong as being in the helping profession and needing help yourself. Exactly. But no one's going to know that if you don't voice that, if you don't make that known. Like, you're not expected to be a superhero all the time. Like, it's just unrealistic. You're a human at the end of the day. You have human emotions. You have skin, blood, and bones, just like everybody else that you come in contact with. So, of course, you're going to feel things and experience things and have difficulties. You have to take care of yourself.
Right. Right. And you said something that made me, go ahead.
I was going to say, I like to think of it just, self-care as kind of like a Swiss Army knife. The term itself is very small and compact, but it can be used in so many different ways to help you at different times.
It was something you said, as us being helpers and needing help ourselves, that just made me think about like a dentist. Although they're a dentist, they need to go to the dentist as well. And so we provide therapy or counsel or education to other people. We need the same in return. And so I think once people can get a grasp and understand that, they'll look, okay, well, I need help myself.
Exactly. I say that, I tell for my parents of kids that come into the hospital, like especially their first time being admitted into a psychiatric hospital, they have a lot of embarrassment or shame or even guilt about their child being at a hospital. And I tell them, I was like, while I understand what it is that you're experiencing, truly I do. I was like, but if your child had broke their arm, wouldn't they also go to a hospital?
Right.
Like, it's yes, we're a different kind of hospital, but this is for a different injury. We're here to help.
Exactly.
We're not here to make fun. We're not here to, embarrass, belittle, or demean you in any way. We're here to help you. Like, and that's our goal. So and I like to take that same thing as self-care. Like, if you're feeling overwhelmed and run down, I don't care how good you are, how many techniques you know as a therapist to help your clients. Your client can feel that in session. They can feel when you are dragging and you are not able to perform at your best, or you're not connecting with them like you did last week or the week before, like, or when they feel like you're just tolerating them. No one wants to feel like they're just being tolerated. So you have to take care of yourself to be able to perform at your highest ability.
Right. What would be one self-care tool you could suggest to an educator that think they may not have the time or know exactly what to do for self-care?
At a base level, sit in silence.
Yeah.
True silence, like no radio, no TV, no white noise. Sit in silence, sit in your thoughts, like sit in those feelings, know what that feels like. Whatever it is that you're feeling in that moment, be present in that moment. Whether it's frustration, whether it's sadness, whether it's overwhelm, whether it's fear, doubt, whether it's even excitement, joy, you know, any emotion, sit in silence for at least 5 minutes. It's going to feel like a long time. It's going to feel like eternity. So I would say probably maybe start with 3 minutes. You can even set a timer on your phone. But as you know, try to do that at least once a day. 3 to 5 minutes, sit in silence. It'll help center you. It'll help ground you.
Right. Yeah, sounds good. I remember back when I started sitting in silence, and yeah, that 5 minutes, it does seem long when you first start off. So yeah, but now after I've done it for so long, it feels short now. It's like, okay, I need to go a little longer.
No, I've started increasing my time too, because that 5 minutes it goes by so fast. I've recently gotten into yoga, so I just sit in silence, and I'll do like maybe 1 to 2 poses of stretching, not in like, you know, like no downward dog, anything. I'm not trying to have the blood rush to my head, but something, just a light stretch to, you know, to focus on my breathing as well as while sitting in silence. And that helps the time go a little bit faster, but also like you can feel the release in your body as well too. So.
Yes, I love yoga. Oh my God, I love it. I'm gonna get better in my poses, but yeah, I love the downward dog. So when you mentioned that one, I was like, yeah, but no, not definitely sitting there in silence for 5 to 10 minutes. No,
exactly.
Yes. Okay. Well, Lakeshia, how can our listeners connect with you?
You can find me on the interwebs. My personal email, lakeshia.j.grant@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions. You can send me an email. That's lakeshia.j.grant@gmail.com. Or you can find me on my counseling website now. Yay.
Yay. Congratulations on that. Yes. I'm excited for you.
Such a labor of love. Oh my gosh. You talking about, when I say self-care has been used this month. My gosh. But my website is www.mindfullyrestoredcounseling.com. Or you can send me an email there at lakgrant@mindfullyrestored.com. I'm also on Instagram. I should know all of these. On Instagram at mindfully_restored, or you can find me on Twitter at LAKGRANT, Lake Grant. And that's where I am. That's where I reside in the social media world.
Awesome. Do you have any upcoming events that you would like to share with our listeners?
AriseINTL.org. It's a great support group. We go by a 3-semester program. You have to complete 3 semesters before you graduate. So it's the same material every semester. But when I say those women come in afraid, sometimes, you know, guarded, which we completely understand, by the end of that 3rd semester, there's so much growth and so much development. It's a small group, anywhere from 6 to 8 women. It's very personable. You know, we have social events throughout the year. So we don't have any right now because we're getting ready to start back up with the semester.
Yeah.
But I try to promote that for Miss Gwen as much as I can too, because I love the group. I've been doing that with her 4 years now, almost 5. So
yeah.
I really love it.
Awesome.
She's doing amazing work. So it's not my event, but I take pride in being a part of it.
Of course. Okay. Thank you, Lakeshia, for educating us on self-care today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Great. Educators, I hope you receive some information about self-care that will help you grow through life. Remember to subscribe to the Educator Podcast and invite other educators to do so as well.